recording. You can hit the gavel if you want and start.
Okay. I'm now calling the January 22nd Beautification and Environmental Advisory Board to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for the record, our chair and vice chair are not present, so I need to ask the members, will you elect a chair for this meeting, and who is that nomination? Somebody has to nominate and then second.
Susan, right? Yes, Susan Anderson, I nominate her.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to call a roll call. Mr. Jones?
Here, present.
I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to yay or nay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me whether I was here or not.
I did. I'm sorry. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Marciano?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Anderson is our chair for the meeting. You can go ahead and ask me to call the roll.
Irene, will you please call the roll?
Mary Vasilevsky. Kevin Saint. Bruce Jones.
Present.
Zachary Marciano.
Present.
Susan Anderson.
Present.
Madam Chairwoman, we have a quorum.
All right, the first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from October 22nd. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion, changes?
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Oh, I'm sorry. What did
All
you
in
say?
favor, yes. I think.
Motion to approve?
Okay, she can ask that. Okay, so you did vote all yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good, thank you. There's a second set of minutes.
Minutes, yes, and that's the, what date is that? Oh, November 12th. Can I have a motion for the minutes on November 12th?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Anderson, please say all in favor?
Yeah. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Calling it, and then you say any opposed.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
That's the end of my instructions, I guess, right?
Then you just read the title of the next item.
Sorry for the... Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. This is we are going to have the presentation on proposed amendments to Chapter 11, tree protection, landscaping, buffers, and irrigation of land development code, of the land development code. Any discussion from the, yeah,
No, at this point, you just announce it.
I'm sorry, Rick, what?
Just announce that we're going to begin the presentation.
I just couldn't quite hear you. Oh, I can't hear you.
But anyway, what Rick is saying is you just announced it, then you call on Rick to start his presentation. Sorry.
Rick, can you start the presentation?
Yeah.
That was-
Yes, okay. Is my mic working or not?
Mm-hmm.
It does work.
Okay,
It's very close to it.
I'll just keep it close then. All right, we have presented our changes to Chapter 11 previously, but since then we have had additional meetings and we've made additional changes, and so we're going to go over it again today, so you get to see the most recent changes in the current version that we're working with.
Rick, may I interrupt for a second? I just, for the record, want to say Mary Vasilevsky arrived to the meeting. Please continue, Rick.
Present.
Okay. Glad you can make it. Thanks for coming.
Me too.
All right, so the amendments are based on the following. Recent updates of the comprehensive plan. Implement a goal, objective, and/or a policy. To clarify the intent of the regulation. To use references to Florida statutes or agencies. And to address ongoing repetitive issues. I guess we're the next page, right? So, section 110102A, the only change is that, previously it's at the end it said if practical, and we changed that to the greatest extent feasible as determined by the land use administrator. So that's just a straight clarification on.
What does that clarify, if you don't mind me
Okay,
asking?
I'll read it. Design of new development. Developments shall be designed to the greatest extent possible to protect existing trees and their tree protection zones from stormwater facilities, drainage lines, utilities, grade changes, building footprints, parking areas, drives, and walkways. Subdivision plats shall shift lot lines to minimize placing specimen or historic trees in the buildable area of the lot, and it previously said, if practical. I mean, we scratched, if practical, we had, to the greatest extent feasible, determined by the land use administrator.
Just maybe a little wording thing. It almost sounds like when it says from stormwater facilities, should that be associated with stormwater facilities, drainage lines, and utilities instead of from? It's almost sounding like you're protecting the way it's worded. That's all. So associated with stormwater facilities,
that-
drainage lines.
We
That's a
can
good
make that
clarification.
change. Yes,
We'll make
sir.
a note of that.
Sorry.
No,
Sort of,
no problem.
That, now when I look at it, that's the only thing I can see now,
Yeah.
so.
Sometimes you can read this 100 times and it looks perfect until someone else points it out. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Okay, so, where are we?
Other way. Other way.
Oh, that way? Okay. All right, now we're on to, section 110102A. No, next one.
Section 110103,
Yeah.
measurement of trees. For the purpose of this chapter, the size of existing trees shall be calculated by the measurement of the diameter of the trunk at diameter at breast height, the DBH, and that is to be at 4 feet 6 inches. Trees with multiple trunks at breast height will have the sum of the trunks utilized for the determination. Where the individual trunks are less than 9 inches in diameter, the largest 3 trunks will be used. The size of the new landscape trees shall be calculated by measuring the diameter of the trunk at 6 inches above grade, up to or over 4 inches in diameter shall be calculated by measurements of the diameter of the trunk at 12 inches above grade. And this change really is just to reflect current practice. DBH is your typical measurement when measuring trees, unless it is from a nursery, and then you use caliber inches, and that's where that measurement is taking place at 6 inches above grade.
This is great, like from the builder and the permitting side, and when you're working with customers and clients, this is a huge clarification.
That
Thank
was
you.
the hope, yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
especially with the multi-trunk trees. I know we've had issues with
Yes.
that in the past, so trying to set out something very clear, that way everything is calculated the same way every time.
This makes me very happy.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, of course.
Sorry, excuse me. So I'm Carol Minnie. I'm the urban forester for the city. And I just wanted to add that we are looking at doing some illustrations that will go into the technical manual about different situations that you're going to find trees in the existing landscape. Some trees could be on a slope. So of course, that's going to change how we calculate this measurement. So we will be adding an illustration to help folks. I think I'm a visual learner, so I think that is going to be very helpful for those that, don't necessarily talk trees, but will give them an aid to understand it better.
Thank you. On behalf of all past, present, and future that I work with, thank you so much. That would be incredible. The biggest fault in communication is thinking that you've understood each other, so this is great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll go to the next page. I'm missing, so there we go. Is that it? That's it, okay. 11.02.01E for single-family residential and duplex developments. Any tree 1.5 inches or greater in diameter that was planted to meet the minimum tree density requirements, or any existing tree that was previously credited towards meeting requirements in this chapter. That's just a clarification. And the reasoning behind this is that if there was a development and they were required to plant trees and they put in 1.5 inch trees, and then there was a further development, if there were existing trees, like naturally grown trees, and at 1.5 inches, we wouldn't consider them to be protected trees. But since someone planted them and they're 1.5 inches, they would count as protected trees.
They do count.
Yeah, they would count now, yeah. Okay, then 11.0202B, monument signs. Where monument signs are proposed to be located on the existing development, all protected trees that are located within 50 feet of the proposed sign shall be shown on the tree survey. At any time of sign permit application, all protective measures for these trees should be depicted. So that's a case where sometimes they come in with a back end, a backhoe, dig the foundations for the footing, and they start tearing up trees, and without the protection there in place ahead of time. So that's what this is for.
Could I ask you just a quick question? I'm struggling with acronyms a little bit. SFR/DPX, what does that mean?
Oh,
Mayor.
single-family residential
Okay.
development or duplex development.
All right, and so the word, it says minimum tree density requirements. Isn't it usually a number of trees? Like, aren't they supposed to plant like 3 hardwoods if they clear it off? So why is the word density used?
There is the opportunity for them to use existing trees on site to count towards credit, and essentially those trees replanted are counted towards a density, and that's where those requirements for the tree plantings come from.
Is density then measured by like trees per 10,000 acres, or what is the density measurement for that? I guess trees per acre?
Right, yeah, so,
Like 4 trees per 10,000 acres is required here or something
It's
like
one
that?
tree per 2,500 square feet. And I guess we could assume it's a 1.5 inch tree, or at least for each tree.
is there any information that says that that number of trees will help with stormwater and wildlife habitat?
No.
So it's just kind of thrown out there as, put them in?
It was written into the ordinance, the last time it was written, about 10 years ago, and we didn't see a need to change it.
I wonder if there's any information on like what the current best management practices are, like maybe through IFIT. That could be a separate thing
Right,
separate
yeah.
quest, but just out of curiosity, what
Right.
the best management practice would be for something like that. I mean, I know that there's a reason y'all came up with the number back then, way back then, but it's been so long that the math is probably forgotten. But
Yeah, and how do we pick 1.5 inches? Shouldn't we, I mean, in the trees that are planted?
Well, that's the minimum size for a shade tree to be planted on a single-family lot. That's the minimum size for a shade tree to be planted on a single-family lot, a new development for a single-family lot. So anything smaller than that would not count as a shade tree. Anything 1.5 inches or above would count.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
It's a little muffled.
mumbled. It's like mumbled, yeah.
if I heard it correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, so you're saying that the 1.5 inches is what the minimum required tree
Right,
is to
right.
be planted? And so are you asking like what determined the 1.5 inches, or?
Yeah, well, one of the thoughts that I've had is that when you look at all the development that we've had, you know, and you see all this cleared land and you see no trees at all, I mean, developers have no really incentive to keep trees, you know, unless it, you know, unless they, if I guess what I'm saying is, if you required a little bit bigger trees, they wouldn't be cutting down as many trees that, maybe they'd be saving some more trees or saving buffers or,
Now, from the builder side, we'd still be cutting them down only because of the challenges for grading.
yeah.
Because what we do, and especially like green construction, we have tried to save, we'll do like landscape buffers because A, private, B, better, like everyone wants a little privacy. But what happens, Palm Coast improved their grade, so now you have to raise it from the back down and to the side so that the water drains better. But what happens is then the trees, we've left trees in the back before, and then it would cause root rot. Okay. And so then we'd have to come back it just, for lack of a better term, coming from an environmental perspective, it sucks.
Oh.
Like, I'm sorry, but lack of a better term, like when you're building and you're doing all that damage, like grading, you have to grade, right? But it's just, it's really heartbreaking. It's really hard to reconcile saving as many trees as you can and develop. And I say this with the biggest heartbreak in the world. So like if you can do landscape buffers and stuff, but I don't think raising just from us, we use 1.5 trees. It gives them it's when they're still young, they're young, but they're finally old enough to be planted and be hardy and not die. That seems to be that minimum diameter. But
Yes, so to your point is that nursery grades are Florida nursery stock grades. That 1.5 inch is really the smallest that we can get to plant in the landscape. Of course, if you want to look at possibly requiring a little bit bigger, I think not going any larger than a 3-inch caliper is workable, only because the trees still are relatively small. We can fit them, locate them in the site quite well. And those trees that are just a little bit bigger, but not, at that 6-inch caliper, they seem to get established a little bit faster and quicker. And they're a little bit tougher too, and they seem to handle site conditions a little bit better. And just to go back to discuss about the issue of the removal of trees on these large parcels, and yes, you're correct, that a lot of the issue becomes is that we have to bring in so many loads of fill, so many feet, and what happens is when you start covering tree roots with fill, you end up suffocating them over time. And depending upon the species, I'm going to use pines, for example, they don't tolerate disruption around their root zone. Okay, so they're usually the first ones to go down about 6 months to a year after construction has been completed. Live oaks are a little bit more tolerant, but they will succumb. The problem for live oaks is it's usually a long, painful death, and it goes for many years. And the leaves start going, then little branches at the top of the tree, and then once the little branches, then it starts becoming your larger, more what we term as lateral or scaffold branches. And it's just a long process, and it can be reversed. We can remove soil out, we can aerate it and try to help stop that decline. But it's very difficult to work around those type of trees in these larger settings. So it does make sense to try to plant as many or have the builder plant as many as they can, because trying to maintain what's existing can be a challenge. I hope that helps.
I totally understand. I do totally understand
thank you for
that.
that question, because
No, these are all great questions.
That's a great explanation too, because I know from experience, but when I'm talking to clients, it's a lot of fights. They're like, no,
Yes.
you're wrong. And I was like, but it's anecdotal experience. But that's a much better explanation. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, and understanding the grading is important, and
Yeah, and thank you so much for the explanation.
Sure, you're welcome.
suffocating trees, I understand that too.
Girl.
Okay, so let's move on to 110202C2, where subdivision developments. We added the word protected. All protected specimen and historic trees shall be individually located and identified over the entire site as to its species, size, except provided in section 110202D. That's just a clarification, because we meant to say you have to get every specimen tree and every historic tree, but we said it without saying, and that's 24 inches and up for 36 inches and up. We forgot the 6 and up, so that's what we had to work.
So are you gonna add the 6 back in there?
Yeah, just to make it a complete requirement.
Yeah, that'd be good. Now, protected, does that also mean like in wetlands? Like cypress, like,
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Okay.
tree survey, I don't believe discriminates entirely where it is. We do focus obviously on the development area, but as
Yeah.
far as mitigation or mitigation for trees as well, I believe we count those trees towards that. But it really depends. We're looking at trees that are potentially impacted that need to be mitigated with this section. Trees that are obviously not proposed for damage or any kind of removal.
so, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Who identifies the trees? Is it surveyor or?
I believe it-
surveyor?
Yeah.
either an arborist or a landscape architect or a surveyor.
When we do surveys for developments, they pretty much identify anything that's 6 inches or greater on the actual survey, when you get the tree survey done. And most surveyors do include some sort of legend, not always, to determine which tree it is, but it's essentially when you have over 6-inch trees, you gotta identify them on the survey. So, because it's necessary for them to permit any structure that we do with that.
Yeah. And many tree surveys, we encounter a monoculture of planted pines from pine plantations for the telephone poles from ITT. So if we have a 10-acre site and you can look at the aerial and see rows and rows and rows of the same size pine tree, we'll just do a couple sample plots, just to document the density, and then they could figure out how many of those pines per square foot and multiply that by the acreage and estimate the number. So there's no sense in making everybody count 1,000,000 pines, and survey locate on
Yeah,
every.
they don't usually count pines, you're right, it's not usually identified.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, I didn't think
So
about
that's
that.
just a sideline to that. Let's see, where are we?
110202D2, where some or all of the development site or a proposed subdivision must be filled to such an extent in order to be permitted development to occur that there is no feasible means as determined by the land use administrator to save protected specimen and historic trees. And this is basically allowing us to look at the development and make a determination if trees are able to be saved, if they are not, and what other means can be looked at in that process. Currently, without that language, it really puts the ball in the developer's court. So we're trying to essentially put a better handle on it as well.
What does that mean, like where it must be filled to such an extent, meaning the trees need to be removed?
Yeah, it's basically meaning that you're putting so much fill on the site that you can't, save the
Save
trees. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and if they're not even trying, then we'll come down on them harder. If they're doing everything possible and they're working with us,
Right.
then we have a better situation. And this just emphasizes that we want to be part of that discussion on that issue.
Okay.
How successful is that? How many, just some idea when you go in and you find some trees, older oaks, for example, live oaks? Do you think
Well,
it's a buil-
in some cases, we have developers who are very cooperative. There's a couple of large developments that have many, many large oak trees, and they do their preliminary sketches and they show road layouts which maximize the number of lots they can get. And we review that and we call them out and say, hey, you can't just cut down these 30-inch trees, 40-inch trees. Let's move the road. And they do. They adjust it with us. They send it back. We review it again and comment again. And if there's no way to save some large trees, we'll go out and actually do studies. Carol will go out and other arborists hired by the applicant will see if it's even a healthy tree worth saving, or if it's a beautiful, robust thing, or if it's just a cavity and filled with insects and raccoons and everything. So we do have quite a few jobs where we work with people. And so I don't know how you measure success, but we have saved many large trees. Carol, you have anything to add to that? They're all afraid of Carol when she shows up at the meeting.
I love it.
This
I
is
learned
true.
so much. You learn Suffering through fear, huh?
So yeah, just to expand on what Rick was saying, so I do work with the developers, I work with their arborists, because I'm not one to just take what they hand me on paper. I want to go out in the field, so I do work with them closely. I go out in the field, we walk it, I look at each individual tree, I assess it, and, you know, we have conversations, and I try to give them as many different options or arboricultural practices, because there are many out there. The problem is, you know, as everything else, it's expensive. So, you know, we have to sit down and really look at this tree. Does it make sense for us to maintain this tree and to have the developer pay, you know, $100,000 to save this one tree? And between me and the other arborists, if we deem that, yes, it's worthy, because the developers realize that these large historic trees actually provide so many ecological benefits, plus people coming here. When they're looking at homes, they want to buy in a community that has trees, and not just, and no offense, but no little, you know, 1.5-inch caliper trees. Okay, they want big, mature oaks. They move here to, you know, see these big, beautiful live oaks with the Spanish moss hanging down, because it says, look, I'm in the South. So many developers are very proactive, and they do know that the city of Palm Coast is very serious about our trees and about our tree canopy. So they know they're not just really going to waltz in and blitz everything, and, you know, we're not just going to stand by and let it happen. So we do have one-on-one meetings. I do spend a lot of time in the field with them, and so far we've had success. I cannot give you an actual total number. Been doing this for 20 years, and I cannot remember, but we've had a lot of success. And just recently, I can give you a project, the Del Webb community, which is coming in on State Road 100. We've worked that site extensively, and we have saved many trees. We did have to let go of some, but we saved quite a few, and I think the end product is going to be very beautiful, and you'll enjoy going through that community when it's online. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next page. Section 110203A, specimen and historic tree preservation requirements. Specimen and historic trees are select protected trees that, due to their size and contributions to the overall tree canopy of the city, are granted an extra level of significance and protection. Building footprints, drives, stormwater management facilities, and similar activities on all sites shall be designed to save the maximum practical number of specimen and historic trees during the subdivision platting process. Lot lines shall be shifted for the same purpose. Now we have table 11.1 that tells you how many specimen and historic trees need to be saved. It's based on how many there are per acre, and you go through the numbers, and you come up with, okay, there's 20 specimen and historic trees, and you need to save 75% of them or 50% of them. In the past, they mixed it together, so some developers would take out all the smaller specimen trees that were 24 inches. Or no, I'm sorry, they would take out the bigger ones because they have more room for lots, and less roots would be in the way of building. And so they would lean it one way or the other to their benefit. So this clarifies to say, like, you have to go for each cat. If it's 50%, you need 50% of the specimen have to be saved, and 50% of the historic have to be saved. And that calculation's separate, so that we get a real application of those percentages. Because it was unclear in the past. So this is just, again, a clarification. Go ahead, Dan.
Advance. Owners of lots assigned the SFR, the single-family residential, duplex, or state zoning districts may remove any specimen or historic trees that is within the buildable area of the lot with no mitigation, if all reasonable efforts, as determined by the land use administrator, to shift or flip the building footprint cannot save the trees. This requirement does not exclude the requirement for mitigation of any removed trees or of protected status.
So protected status, one more time, that's also 24 inches, or sorry, 6 inches and up.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
right.
Okay. And so that's for lots like, for example, Palm Coast, like what I call incorporated like Palm Coast proper, like the lots that are already zoned single-family residential, they're sort of already included into those preliminary studies that you were talking about. And so as long as the tree is under 6 inches, you're not responsible for any additional mitigation apart from the one tree per 2,500 square feet.
Right.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
And once again, that gives us the flexibility as well as reviewers to enforce as we feel necessary. Table.
They're already plotted lots, like that's already technically been developed, so you can't like then hold those lots to new standards again because it's already been developed with the first round of development. That makes sense.
One more time, please. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to follow.
It's all right. I think I got it in my head.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we do run into the situation where we look at an undeveloped parcel and we see lots of large trees, and we start telling them to, try to work around them as best as they could. And then they read this and they say, well, wait a minute, they're going to be single-family lots and they're going to be within the building permit, so we could take them out without any mitigation. And we say, well, no, because right now they're not lots. It's one big lot.
It's not plotted
And you
yet.
have to work with us. We catch them at that point and make them, fess up to what we really want them to do and save more trees, save more big trees.
So long story short, this isn't your first rodeo.
No, we have our fights and we even disagree amongst each other about how tough to be on them sometimes. And we do a good job, saving some big trees.
That's awesome. Thank you for that example.
I'm proud of that. Go ahead.
Table 11-1, footnote 1, for the purpose of compliance with tree preservation and mitigation requirements, specimen trees and historic trees shall be calculated and preserved as distinct categories. So this is essentially reiterating that other section we just read, which was 110203A. We felt it was very important. We wanted a very clear, perception of what we were trying to get across in the land development code. That way they can look at it in the section of the code or even the table. If they're just looking at the table, it is very clear that the historic and the specimen trees are two separate categories that need to be mitigated for and preserved separately.
Sorry, not to be, specimen tree is what? Historic tree is 6 inches
Specimen is
and up.
36 and above. Oh, I'm sorry. Historic is 36 and above. Specimen is 24 above for most species. And then some other species have lower size DBHs if they're smaller trees, and it could go down to 12 for certain species and still be a specimen tree.
So a specimen is like, it's a historic tree on steroids in my brain.
Other way around.
Yeah, the other way around.
A historic tree is a specimen tree on steroids, to quote.
Okay, so the historic tree is 24 inches and above. But the specimen
No,
tree.
historic is 36, the bigger.
36.
Yeah,
Oh my.
3 feet, yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
Alright.
So specimen is 6 inches and above. No, specimen is 24 inches and above.
Protected is 6 inches and above.
Okay, protected 6 inches, specimen 24, historic 36.
Yes, ma'am.
Our own Sequoia, huh?
110203B1. Trees saved in wetlands or their associated upland buffers are eligible for preservation credits. However, preservation of trees in wetlands for preservation credits may not also be used as a criteria for preserved wetlands, and environmental sensitive lands density bonus if as established in Chapter 3.
Okay, 110203B4, existing pine trees. Existing pine trees other than sand pine, Australian pine, Norfolk Island pine, or other invasive tree species. So existing pine trees that are in good health may be used as buffer shade tree credits if they are a minimum of 6 inches diameter and comprise no more 50% of the buffer tree requirement. If pines meeting these criteria are of good quality and spacing such that the planting of new shade trees for some or all of the remaining required buffer shade trees is impractical, then existing pines may count for more than 50% of the maximum requirement.
So if you have a 10,000 acre lot, like a standard lot, it can account for, and you have 2 pines that have a minimum 6-inch diameter, you can use no more than 2 of them as,
Well, this is not so much for small lots. This is for big subdivision projects where there's
Oh,
a
okay.
perimeter buffer in place. And if, in other words, don't cut down all the pine trees and then plant new trees if they're big enough and substantial enough. You can save half of them and just plant half of what you would have if it were a barren piece of property.
yeah. So that's where like okay, just to reiterate it, so you're encouraging them to keep as many buffers as they can, existing trees, so that they don't just clear cut and rebuild if there are trees that are in
And
those
they
buffer
can-
areas.
They can count up to 50% of the existing trees to fulfill the buffer requirements.
Okay. And then they have to plant the rest.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 110205B1. A clearing and grading plan shall be submitted showing vegetation of tree areas to be preserved with proper protective barriers, is what we added there. The amount of fill needed for the lot development based on existing grades, proposed roadways and building elevations and drainage plans. So in other words, we're only changing that you have to put up the protective barriers to save those trees and not just get sloppy and spill soil on their root zones and damage them or drive over them with heavy equipment or replace any kind of fill material or gravel or construction materials, anything that would compress the air out of the soil in the root zones. So it's just be nice to the trees while you're doing this.
Is there I think this was in the land development code already. What is, out of curiosity, what is the protective barrier? Like if it's a protected tree or historic tree, what is the buffer space for the protective barrier? Is it like 5 feet, 10 feet?
Carol's going to answer that.
So as far as a single TPZ zone, you measure the diameter of the tree, and so for every inch, let's say it's 42 inches, you come out 1 foot, so you would have to come out 42 feet, and then that's where you would start, placing your tree barricade.
You said 42 feet?
Yes. So
1
you,
inch per foot.
yeah, so you can understand why there's always negotiations and conflict, because on an historic tree, those TPZ zones are pretty large.
Right.
And typically, they're like out in the middle of the drive aisle, or they're slap up against the building. So
Right.
that's why we have to adjust and look at it, and this is where I work with their arborists to say, okay, we can impact a tree on one side, can't do all 4 sides. So we try to determine, okay, can we bring that TPZ zone, the fence, in on this side, maybe by 5 or 10 feet, and keep the rest of it. So there's a lot of give and take. But that is the standard equation for a TPZ zone. Now, when it comes to the buffers, I'm not quite sure. Rick might be able to actually give you how far away do we start doing that silt fence, which kind of gives us that guideline of where the barrier needs to be to protect that whole natural area.
Well, we pretty much watch out for the larger trees, and if they're larger and worth preserving, then we'll put that barrier around them.
So TPZ, tree protected zone. Blah.
And one good example of that is the new Wawa that's on Palm Coast Parkway, in Florida.
There's a Wawa on Palm Coast Parkway?
Yeah,
Yep.
Florida Park Drive intersects it, and on the Florida Park Drive site, there's an entrance, and there's a pretty good size, couple big oak trees there, and they wanted to put the entrance right next to them, which would chop all the roots, and we
Okay.
fought with them, and we made them move it and redesign it, and then we even used some geogrid material to put beneath the pavement before it got paved to help the roots still get some air and.
Help with the compaction, put in drive aisle, paving, sidewalks, etc. But yeah, we worked well with Wawa. They were very accommodating. So that's what I mean by that, having that partnership and work, with the developer.
And part part of that goes with Wawa being such a successful franchise. They know they're gonna make X amount of dollars since the day they open, with all the coffee and the sandwiches and everything and the gas, that they're willing to spend the extra couple thousand, $50,000, whatever it is, to make us happy and have a better tree cover and have a more inviting atmosphere for their clients to come into and maybe sit under the shade of those trees and enjoy their snacks or whatever. So they know it's not hurting them, it's not killing them. So they're like, that's a great idea, guys, let's do it. And they're the kind of clients we like.
Wow.
Yeah, not too many of them, but we
No.
like them. Excuse me?
They make the manufacturers pay for it. I'm in the food and beverage.
All right, well,
Yeah.
but then people pay for that.
It goes around. Yeah.
They're bad.
And they're not terrible.
Or they're good. It's
They're good. They're
give
good.
and,
They're
give and
good.
take.
Yeah.
Just
All right, let's move on to, get the next page up there. Let's see. I'm not good at this. Okay. 110205F2. Removal of a protected specimen or historic tree shall be mitigated as follows. A, a protected tree shall be mitigated with one shade tree per table 11-4. B, a specimen tree shall be mitigated with one shade tree per table 11-4. And C, an historic tree shall be mitigated with two trees meeting the standards of table 11-4 with at least one tree being a shade tree. So that's just a clarification on that chart.
not to be annoying, for lack of a better term right now. And I'm not trying to kick myself in the butt as a builder, but it just seems like there's a big jump from, I don't know the protocol.
I don't know. Just continue.
Okay, okay. I'm lost without Irene.
We are too.
With the protected tree minimum being 6 inches minimum, right? It could be anything from 6 to 24, and a specimen tree being 24 inches. Shouldn't there be like 2 shade trees per specimen tree? Or, I don't know, it just seems like such a big jump. And I know it's the largest gap, you know, between 6 and 24 versus 24 and 36, but it just, well, I guess you guys are technically keeping it consistent then with what is required.
All right, well, like an historic tree, you would measure the caliper, well, they call them the DBH, but caliper inches.
Right.
Stays 25 inches across. You divide that by 3.5, and that's how many 3.5-inch trees you would need to plant.
Okay. So if it's 36 inches, divide that by 3.5, that's how many trees you need to
Yeah, and
plant.
those trees are about $1,000 each to plant. So
$5,000 per tree?
about $1,000 per tree.
Oh, pocket change.
Yeah.
No.
That's why when you say 1.5-inch trees, let's make them do bigger ones. If you
Yeah.
have a 100-lot subdivision and you go from a $300 tree to a $1,000 tree,
They're going to
times
try to
300,
make,
that's a lot of extra money and they would balk.
and they would try to plant less trees as a result.
Yeah,
Whereas at least these can grow
yeah.
into nicer ones.
Okay, I'm going to move on to 110206. Tree mitigation for all protected specimen and historic trees for MFR, which is multifamily residential, COM, which is commercial, and IND, which is industrial types of developments, shall be provided as shown in table 11-2, and for single-family residential and duplex properties shall be provided for table 11-4. Property owners shall be responsible for the cost of mitigating the trees removed from the property. And we added, by preserving existing trees, replanting trees on site, or paying a like fee to the tree bank fund while still maintaining minimum tree density requirements.
So the shade tree pretty much is defined as a tree that develops a canopy? Is that how a shade tree is? I
Yes.
should know all this. I'm so sorry,
Well,
but,
I'm impressed that you do, but yes.
so. And then what's the other tree requirement? It's just a shade tree versus, Okay,
So those are trees that typically grow under the canopy,
Right.
the larger shade trees, so like crepe myrtle, holly, loquat.
110207A. If due to a site condition or configuration, it is impossible or impractical for the property owner, applicant, or developer to meet the requirements for tree density and/or replacement on site, the property owner, applicant, or developer shall pay fees of equivalent value into the tree fund, or plant trees off-site upon approval of a suitable site or sites by the city. The tree bank fund shall be separate accounts set up as shown in the city financial records in which all receipts are detailed. All monetary contributions paid into the tree bank fund pursuant to this section shall be used exclusively for the design, planting, or replacement of trees on public land. Funds may also be used for relocating trees onto public land. Funds may also be used for the design, installation of an irrigation system, mulching, or arboricultural practices and staking for these trees. So by the addition of arboricultural practices, we're allowed essentially to do the upkeep that's needed, such as if a tree needs a certain treatment because they have a beetle or it's rotting and it needs to have some kind of supplemental action done to it, we have that ability to make sure that tree stays healthy and continues to grow. And, Joe, want to add anything? Good.
And there would be a limited number of trees that we would apply that to, because it is quite expensive, and it would have to have some real reason, real key to the design of the site, or the use, or some maybe cultural or historical significance. So it's only done once in a while, but we wanted to put this in there so we have the ability to spend that money to do that when we encounter trees that are that important. Okay, 110301C, protected trees and plants. The use of protected trees, understory trees, shade trees, accent plants, shrubs, and ground covers is required to partially or totally satisfy the planting requirement of this chapter. Multifamily residential, commercial, industrial, and subdivision developments may use existing healthy pine trees that are non-native and invasive trees are counted for credit. So they can use healthy pine trees that are 6 inches in diameter and over to meet the minimum tree requirements. However, no more than 25% of the pine trees may be credited. The land use administrator may approve alternate plantings if the purpose and the intent of the chapters are met and a nuisance or environmental hazard is not created.
is that different than the 50% that we were talking about earlier for the buffer areas?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a zoning difference? Like this
Yeah,
is
that's
commercial?
specific to zoning, yeah.
Okay, so
Zoning
that one
question.
was like single-family residential duplex,
Yeah.
this one is multifamily, commercial, industrial. Okay.
Okay, section 110301D, native vegetation. Use of native plants and plant species that conserve water, adapt to local conditions, and are drought tolerant and required for all new landscaping. Multifamily residential, commercial, industrial, and subdivision developments required to reuse water if available. That means if we have our reuse lines in their vicinity, their project, and they can hook up to it, because that's only someplace. If not available, development shall plant at least 50% of the pervious area of the site with native plants, or plant and sod that conserve water, adapt to local conditions, are non-invasive or nuisance species, and are drought tolerant. So basically here they're saying, if you can't use the reuse water, then let's use native plants that require less water in those areas. And it just kind of tries to balance out the water use. Because we don't really allow potable water for irrigation on any large scale. Very small areas can do it, but we discourage that.
So that would be, now, how does that work if, so if it's a new development, say like Palm Coast Plantation, like they don't allow Bahia grass, but Zoysia grass would be the water-saving grass that they would allow?
Yeah, the dry tolerant, yeah. Yeah, again, it's just wherever, we have maps of where the reuse water lines are, and if they're not there, then they have to do everything they can to conserve water.
Okay.
Environmentally, it would be nice if they didn't say, it says native plants, but then it says or, whatever you want that's drought tolerant. It'd be nice if we required a little more natives, because certainly our wildlife and animals have evolved for hundreds of thousands of years with their plants, and that's the best thing for our environment.
You're right.
Has there ever been any thought about
There-
making a requirement of a certain, it doesn't have to be 50% or some sort of percent, that, and don't have the or in there, or whatever you want?
Says, if water available, plant at least 50% of the previous area of the site with plants. Is there an or in there? I don't see it.
You go back to the slide before? Sorry. Okay.
Because it's, yeah. They say native plants or plants and sod that conserve water.
I think that's a different description of native plants. Native or ones that can serve water.
If I understand what you're asking, you're wanting to see more like a percentage put there. If it says native plants, you're saying 50% or 30%
20, 25,
would be
yeah.
native plant material.
Yeah.
Is that understanding?
Yeah, that would be, yeah, more environmentally friendly if we had more natives required.
I
But
think
native
now
does-
you'd have used the sod too instead of plants.
My concern is like native might not be the most drought tolerant sometimes. So like native is usually the best, but because it's been adapted to this climate, but like,
They know how to live with the rainwater that we get here.
right.
Yeah.
How do you, is like, for example, St. Augustine grass, is that native to here?
Yes.
But it's not
Yeah.
the most drought
It
tolerant.
needs a lot of water.
Like it needs a lot of water, but like Zoysia,
Zoysia.
Yes, thank you. Is it native to here?
No, I
No.
don't think so, no.
To be honest, there's no real native grass. Florida never really had grass.
Basically, it's a weed.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's a weed.
Well, the thing is,
So-
it's always the right plant in the right place. So if you have a plant that's native that likes wet, you don't want to plant that there. But if you have a native that loves dry, because these plants evolved without humans, without fertilizer, without, help at all from humans.
Could you add a line that just states drought tolerant plants and sod?
That's already in
Yes.
there. Drought, or it's already in there.
Is it?
Yeah, it
Oh,
says
yes.
50% are drought.
And are drought tolerant, gotcha.
That's, whereas like you're talking about like the or, like,
Yeah, yeah.
or with a, but you were saying that grass isn't technically
No.
native to Florida?
No.
at all. Okay.
So, there are different ground covers that are native to Florida. One, for example, would be mimosa. I don't know if you know, it's a nice little ground cover, small, puts up these little kind of like powder puff pink balls.
Some in medians on highways, right?
Right. The only
No,
issue
no.
that I kind of see and I just worry about is sometimes purchasing native plant material is very difficult. And purchasing and probably the quantity that they would need to fulfill maybe 50% might be hard.
I do know Green Isles does do cities and developers,
Oh, is that a business? a nursery?
Yeah, Green Isles Nursery, and
Okay.
we have now a new Flora of Flagler, a new native nursery here in Flagler County.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with them.
And Southern Horticulture has up theirs, though that's not really for a developer, but I'm just saying there's more and more natives nurseries becoming available. Slingers down in Volusia County. There's a lot around now, and Green Isles is the one that they do. Like as I said, they do cities. They'll plant cities and.
So I guess we just need to decide, like, how this verbiage, how you want it to, if you're wanting to put a percentage in there. I don't know, Dylan, any thoughts?
Honestly, I know enough about plants to know I don't know anything about plants. So I don't have enough knowledge to contribute, and I don't really need to be saying that actually out loud, but here you go.
Well, maybe the term should be Florida-friendly plants?
Well, that's essentially what we're saying in there too, though, is we're looking for those plants that are non-invasive or nuisance, that they're drought tolerant, and that they adapt to the local conditions. So we're looking for plants that are going to take and thrive as well. As far as the percentage, I will really leave that in your purview, whatever you would like to see. Yeah. Do you have a suggestion on a percentage you would like to see? This is, I believe, as well, mainly for the landscaped areas and not necessarily the sod that is outside of that landscape
Yeah,
area.
and certainly if you have sable palms, that's a native.
So this
Right there.
would be for your lower vegetation,
Like ground
essentially.
cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ground cover, like when you're driving, like not where the homes are, but like when you're driving along the community type of thing, or what do you mean?
No, this would also, so kind of like those planting beds that you see, it'd be essentially in there.
Oh,
Common areas? Common areas within a
Yeah.
MFR or a commercial? What I was thinking.
Medians?
I don't know. Yeah, that would be a common area.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Around like a
Medians.
pool,
Yeah.
maintenance building, I think those kind of locations.
okay, so not just grass areas, but like mulched areas and like little, like parks in those areas. Oh, okay. I was overcomplicating it in my head.
Yeah, my purpose is really more for the environment, for wildlife. It's not, of course, water is a part of that as well. But it's not only we need to save water, which I toured in December, one of our water, the one out on one, the water,
Oh, the water treatment.
treatment plant,
that
yeah.
two?
And yeah, they are applying for salt water now because our wells are getting low and salt water's underneath, and that's what they're going to be pulling up in the future. So things are, we do need to be concerned, I think, about irrigation and
I don't know if this is too granular, but if we mention something about the zone specific, so I guess we're 9B.
Yeah, we're 9B.
9B.
We are 9B.
Would that help? Because obviously Florida native plants may be different.
That's a good suggestion, and maybe we'll consider adding that, because
I don't know if that helps.
It
that
does.
That's
specifies the lowest
planting.
temperature they
Oh.
can
So,
survive.
like, essentially it gets down to like
Well,
the freezing part of it.
West Flag, well, it's Palm Coast, right? Yeah, West Flagler is 9A, or 9B,
I think they're 9.
9A, because they're more like, they can be, West
Kind
Flagler
of
can be
on the
cold.
line.
Yeah, if the line runs up and down the coast, like where the Hammock Dunes is, and
Yeah.
to the east of it is 9B, and to the west of it, up to like Tallahassee, is 9A.
When you said zoning, I was like, wait,
No,
what's
not that.
another 9B zone? I don't know
So
this one.
that's called the hardiness
The
zone.
hardiness
Yeah,
zone.
it means that pretty much the plants that are native to that zone can survive temperatures down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit for a certain period of time and still
And still grow.
recover and live. If they're too sensitive, they go down to the higher number zones towards Miami.
Okay.
And they can take maybe up to 32 degrees or down to, sometimes it's like 36 or 40 degrees. Like in the Keys, I think it's 40 degrees is the coldest it ever gets. So they scale it up, and they've been studying this over the years, and they drew the lines. And that's, every plant has a plant hardiness zone that it's appropriate for. So that's a good suggestion. Excellent.
That's really creative. I would have never thought about that.
Yeah.
11,
I don't know, I guess if we were going to do something with it, if we wanted to add native plants there, I'd just say maybe start with 25%. That's just picking a number out of the, and take the or away, and,
It would be 25% of the 50, correct?
25%
Yeah.
of the lot,
That's
right?
how I'm
Or the,
understanding
or the,
I think it's.
It would be 25% of the required.
Of the
of acquired, okay.
of the, permeable part of the.
Pervious?
Yes.
Permeable, I guess they call it impervious, whatever. Not the impervious part, which is concrete and roofs.
And Zach, getting back to the 9B, I do the reviews for all the incoming landscape plans. And if I see plants that are inappropriate, like cocoa plum or like royal palm or something that's too sensitive, I'll call them out and say, no, change it to something that's adaptable to 9B.
Yeah.
So I
I
kind
mean,
of do that on a regular basis anyway, but it'd be good to
Sure.
have it in the ordinance.
I mean, if it's written down and there's just less
Yeah,
for them to have communication.
for
back and
whoever
forth,
knows what
right?
that means,
No,
yeah.
our clients fight. Like, if it's not written down, they will call and
Yeah,
you guys
the lawyer,
give us.
they'll get the lawyer, yep.
Yeah, no, they'll give
Show
us.
me
grief.
in the land development code where it says that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you start humming. So
Gotta
anyway,
Less-
okay.
Gotta love a
You wanna move
contract.
on?
All right.
Over
So
there?
110301E, alternative landscape betterment plan, where an applicant with a unique or difficult site to develop based upon the shape of the lot or its developable area as determined by the PLDRB or City Council is unable to meet some of the specific landscape standards in Chapter 11, the applicant may propose an alternative landscape betterment plan with at least the same quality of required plants in the same amount of landscape area, but in a revised location or design layout. The applicant must provide at least 2 landscape hardscape features not otherwise required that are pedestrian-friendly, such as fountains, benches, or artwork, and then we've added in designed to withstand outdoor use. This really is derived from previous plans where the material is not held up quite as well. So whenever they're going through this is a requirement for them to maintain as well. We want to make sure that it's staying there as well and that it can withstand all the conditions it's put in.
Yeah, we have one coming up for approval right now. It's the site on the intersection of Palm Coast Parkway and Belterre, the northeast corner. Or is that defunct gas station that was there for a long time, next to like the Publix liquor store?
Squirrel.
And back
Whatever.
up.
Yeah, squirrel.
Yeah.
That's a.
Yep.
So
that gas
they have a
station.
Chipotle
I
coming
think
in
it's gonna
there.
be a Chipotle.
And they're going to do that right on the corner. They're going to put a little fountain area, a triangular paved area with a couple benches there to make up for the fact that they couldn't comply with the standard buffers because some of the trees were there and some of the parking got in the way. So they did it and we accepted it. And we're going to try to get it approved.
Regarding the artwork, is that like professional approved artwork or is that like?
Well, it's a fountain. It's a water fountain. It's not. I mean, we have. It would come to you, BEAC, to look at artwork,
Mhm.
and it would also go to the
Okay.
Parks Department for review.
Okay, got you.
And I would review it as a landscape architect, and in-house staff would look at it too. Okay, so
And this is just a continuation of the previous one. There's no changes on this slide, but the PLD Rio City Council may approve or conditionally approve the alternative landscape betterment plan if the proposed changes will provide at least as much public benefit, screening from the right-of-way and adjacent properties, and aesthetic appeal as if the landscape standards were strictly followed. All Tier 1 technical site plans having a landscape betterment plan shall be reviewed by PLDRB, or planning board.
Oh, was that just a continuation of, okay.
I just wanted to make sure you guys seen all of it there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And you'll see something similar here. I believe the next slide actually has the changes, but 110301H, screening planting. Above ground structures such as dumpsters, enclosures, mechanical equipment, backflow preventers, wells, pumps, tanks, ground mounted HVAC units, transformers, generators, storage sheds, lift stations, utility cabinets, electrical panels, or ground mounted cable satellite television equipment shall have a medium screen planting as described in table 11-4. If the structures are in the area that are visible from an improved public right-of-way, a medium screen planting as described in table 11-4 shall be provided between the structure and the right-of-way. If the structures are in areas that are visible from a parking lot or abutting properties without an intervening buffer, fence, or wall, then a medium screen planting as described in table 11-4 shall be provided between the structure and the parking lot or the abutting property. And if you could advance the slide. Oop. On transformers, lattices may be used for screening instead, where vegetation is planted, and it shall be set back sufficiently so that at maturity, it still meets the Florida power and light minimum setbacks from the transformers. And then this is what we've added. All screening shall be set back 3 feet from the closest point of any mechanical equipment. And that is really driven from access. Because if we put these screenings right up to an HVAC unit or right up to really anything, you're not able to get access to when you need it for, replacement and things like that. And you end up having to tear up that screening that was planted. Not to mention, if you are an HVAC worker having to work on an AC, you need space to get in there. So we're trying to include that in the code.
Yeah, I don't recall if it was the BAC or the planning board, but we had a gentleman who was an HVAC technician who made that comment and said, sometimes I get to the job and I can't even get near the condenser because the shrubs are all over the place and I don't know what to do. So we said, yeah, you're right. Let's keep everything away. So that's a perfect example of us listening to our community and changing things that make sense and that we think are, be better for everyone.
Yeah, the 3 feet is a good, because even when you can at least maintain the overgrowth,
Yeah,
when
right.
it's planted 2 feet or 1.5 feet from it, then
It's
you're
just-
kind of,
Yeah, it's just a maintenance thing, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Safety.
we'll go on to 110302D. Okay. Point 2, point A. Residential homes shall provide foundation plantings consistent of 16 shrubs as described in table 11.4. On interior lots, 8 shrubs shall be planted in front of the home and 4 shrubs planted on each side of the home. On corner lots, requires 6 shrubs shall be planted on each side of the home facing the street, and 4 shrubs planted on the interior side of the home. When the rear yard has a home facing the saltwater canal, lake, golf course, an additional 4 shrubs shall be planted along the rear of the home. So this clarification is just to tell you to go look at table 11.4, see what those plants are, what types of plants those 16 shrubs are, or the trees. Oh, I can't read this one.
You can advance it, I'll handle it.
See that?
So admittedly, it is hard to read. It's very hard to get this table into a single slide and be legible. But table 11-4, the only changes that we made in it is adding hardwoods after the 3.5 inches or 3 sable palm trees at 8 feet clear trunk required to replace 1 shade tree. And that's consistent with the MFR, multifamily, commercial, industrial, and subdivision section, and the single-family residential and duplex.
Was the 1 inch a typo, or is it supposed to be 1.5 inch as well for understory in single family?
That's for understory trees. It's for the shade tree portion is the one that changed.
A silly question. The hardwoods are the ones who drop leaves?
Yes,
Okay.
deciduous.
Well, oak trees are hardwood and they're semi, so they should always have leaves. Some evergreens are considered. Well, so things that are not would be your palm trees and your pines.
And those are,
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to talk into the mic. So just to reverb, oak trees are semi-deciduous, so they are always going to have leaves. They're hardwood. But what is not hardwood would be your palm trees and your pine trees.
and those are
Yeah.
considered soft,
Pardon me?
those are considered softwood trees then, right?
Well,
Or-
palm trees are actually related to grasses. They're considered a monocot. We're starting to get into a little bit of botany here, but yeah, they're because they don't grow in girth. So hardwoods are trees that will grow in girth. Okay, so they're putting on a layer of new wood each season. Where palms, their growing point is at the very center, the tip of the head of the palm. So they are going to grow upright. They never grow in girth.
And they said we'd never use biology.
Right?
Botany.
Oh.
Okay, 11.03.03A2. For multifamily residential, commercial, industrial, and subdivision developments, a cluster of 3 palm trees or 1 date palm with a minimum of 8-foot clear trunk may replace up to 25% of the required shade trees. at the ratios shown in this chapter. Where an architectural theme in a multifamily residential, commercial, or subdivision development has dominated tropical design, clusters of 3 palm trees may replace 50% of the required shade trees with the same spacing requirements. On single-family residential and duplex developments, clusters of 3 palms may replace up to 50% of the required shade trees, but in all cases, at least one shade tree shall be provided. And some of the smaller palms we don't allow, like the Robelinis, other types that don't get that big, but date palms tend to get pretty big, pretty wide, and they kind of create the canopy almost similar to a shade tree. Not, of course, not like an oak, but more than the other palms. So that's why we allow those to be equal to a shade tree. We get that request sometimes. I deal with other landscape architects, and they go, well, can't I just put like a nice canary palms or Sylvester palms along here instead of oaks? And before, it wasn't clear whether they could or not. So this clarifies that they could do it as long as it's 8-foot clear trunk. So that's a clarification.
Date palm with a minimum of 8-foot clear trunk. Are you talking about one 8-foot clear trunk in the middle of the cluster, or 8 foot?
No, it wouldn't be a
including the
cluster. It'd be like a single tree.
Single tree, okay.
Based as like a shade tree. And
Okay.
8 foot gets it up above people's heads and eyes, and
Oh, 8 foot
Yeah.
tall.
they tend
Okay.
to be the spiky too, where they come out
Yeah,
with the new, and that would get everything above everybody's head, so nobody's gonna walk into get a spike in their eye or their face or whatever.
Okay, that makes.
Because they hurt. I have them in my house, and they hurt when I prune them. I never get away without being stuck,
Same, yeah.
and it hurts for 3 days.
Table 11.5, this is a subnote to the table. Subnote 5, the land use administrator may allow required buffers areas to be adjusted by reallocating buffer width from areas where buffering is less impactful to areas where increased buffering is necessary, provided the overall buffer function and intent are maintained. And this is to offer that flexibility. If we have a buffer against property where it is, less impactful, essentially, where it is not quite as needed, we can move that. So if we have something buffering an industrial district, for example, we have try to find an example here.
Pretty much it allows us to shift it around to
Yeah.
put it where it does the most screening for the most important views onto the site, rather than have a thinner screening there and a thicker one around the back, may back up to a forest or may back up to a lake where you don't really need it. We can bring that out front and say, come up here, guys, and let's do a little screening with all of you together, or not, or more of you, not all. Common sense description of what that means.
That's a good compromise,
Yeah.
because you're ensuring that the areas that need to be protected need to be protected.
Yeah, that was
are.
a thing that Ray brought up, our previous boss. So we're carrying on his ideas.
Oh, thank you, Ray.
Ray Tyner, yeah.
110303 C4. For understory trees may be used in lieu of shade trees where noted in table 11-6 as optional. However, no more than 25% of the required trees may be understory trees. And this is the addition. Unless limited by utility easements, then shade trees may be permitted at maximum required percentages as determined by land use administrator. And this allows us the flexibility that if there's essentially a utility easement either above ground or underground to use smaller trees in that area. We have seen issues in the past where utilities are either impacted or they're not able to use quite as tall of trees due to power lines and things of that nature. This gives us the flexibility to still have the same amount of trees, just of smaller caliber, to not interfere with those.
They'll never get hacked by the pruners from the power company. For arboriculturals, they have many rules about using heavy equipment, equipment like spikes where you could climb up a tree, but it really chews up the tree and does a lot of damage. So most arborists wouldn't use that method. But if you work for the power company and the trees are ready to fall on the power lines, you can do whatever you want. You could use those spikes. You can hack them straight in half a tree, be like a lollipop. You just cut it right in half, put the V in it, let the lines go through. They kind of have a free reign. And whatever is required doesn't pertain to them. So that's just a bit more information.
110306 B6. moisture sensing devices or smart irrigation systems. All irrigation systems shall have an operational moisture sensing device or a smart irrigation system, such as a rain detection device. That's a clarification.
That's for like single-family homes too, right? We all have them.
Yep, should be I believe it's actually required on our CUP permit from St. John's River Water Management District.
I feel like, yes.
Ma'am.
Okay, I'll take this. 110307A. A is mulching requirements. All planting areas shall be mulched with a minimum of 3 inches and a maximum of 4 inches of mulching material. Type of mulching material is subject to approval by the land use administrator. Many times I go to inspect projects that are just done. They want to get final landscape approval. And I find that they scatter just enough mulch so you can't see the bare soil. And if you sneeze, you see the soil. And if you kick it with your foot, you see the soil. And there's like 1 inch. So we, it used to be, I think, 2 to 4 inches. So we're upping the requirement to 3 to get them closer to compliance. So we'll still probably have the same problem, but not as bad. I think that if they know they need 3, that rather than thinking they need 2, they might have a mindset of putting more. That's what I was. 110308B, 2, little b. For maintenance of commercial properties, including office, medical, retail, and industrial uses and multifamily projects of 25 units or more, tree pruning of branches 1 inch or larger and at the height of 8 feet or more shall only be provided by or under the direct supervision of an arborist certified by the International Society of Arboriculture within Florida. And it used to say, or by a tree trimmer certified annually by the city, but I think Carol used to run programs to educate people to get that certification. And I think, are we phasing that out, Carol? Or is it still available?
Yes, no, by law now we're not able, municipality is not able to provide that type of education to limit certification, so we no longer offer that. I will provide it just as more informational than making it as a part of a compliance to our ordinance.
Okay, so we tell the state on them if they don't comply now. Okay, 110309B2. As-built drawings.
Next page.
Oh, sorry about that. As-built drawings, landscape and irrigation as-built drawings, called as-built, are required prior to the certificate of occupancy of the project being issued in any zoning district except for a single-family residential, duplex, and estate. By the way, to clarify, estate is a larger size single-family residential lot. I don't know, a 1 acre or more?
It depends. Estate 1, I believe, is 1 acre. Estate 2 is 2.5 acres.
Okay, so that's a new acronym. EST is for an estate, big lot. Okay. The irrigation as-built provided by the city for future reference shall include certification via signed and sealed plans by a landscape architect for location of water source, rain sensor, valves, clocks, and heads. Purpose of the irrigation as-built drawings is to provide reasonable assurance that the irrigation system is installed in accordance with the city-approved irrigation plans. Approximate underground pipe run locations will be acceptable in lieu of exact locations. As-built may be bonded according to the procedure as noted in section 110309B1. And I guess the only change there was via signed and sealed plans, because I was running into telling people that I need signed and sealed as-built, and it said shall include certification by a landscape architect. So it wasn't clear that certification meant actually signed and sealed plan with their landscape architect seal on there. So this cleans that up and takes away their refusal to do it, because it comes down to they have to pay their landscape architect who designed it to go out and take a look and say, yeah, this is the same, we changed this, and I'm certifying it by putting my license on there. So we have a record of it. So if anything ever happens and has to be replaced, we know exactly what we approved and we know exactly what got planted, and we can put it back or mitigate for it or whatever.
Isn't that but that's what's already required through single family, so it's literally like adding just that it's signed and sealed, because I know you guys wouldn't give the CO without it matching.
Right. Yeah, in any zone except for single family, except for
Except-
duplex, and except for estate. So pretty much multifamily, commercial, and non-residential stuff
Okay.
is what we have to get the as-built.
That makes sense.
110402B, site's cleared without approved tree survey. If the site has been cleared and trees have been removed from the site such that the land use administrator is unable to determine with reasonable certainty the number of protected trees removed in violation of this subpart, the violation may be corrected or partially corrected by paying into the tree replacement fund. The land use administrator will determine the appropriateness and number of tree replacements to be planted back on the lot. Upon inspection, no work will continue until the tree replanting has been approved. The contributions assessed under the subsection shall be payable to the city within 10 working days after the assessment, and all replantings shall be required to be irrigated.
Now, what happens in the context of when single-family homes, like we've encountered the excavators going to excavate the wrong property? So like without, obviously they went on trespass on someone else's lands by accident. What do you guys do in situations like that?
So that initiates a code violation, and we follow the code, which is the 1 tree per 2,500 square feet. So we make them plant back trees. We ask for gator bags because generally it's an undeveloped, so there's no water there. But we have gator bags required, and then seeding and straw to get the stand, to be held in place. So that is part of our code requirement when it comes to a lot that has been cleared, either by mistake or they've cleared it and now they've decided they're not going to build a home on it. That will result in a code violation.
Okay. And code violation usually has like a fee or a fine with that?
We would ask for that compliance of they have to do the 1 tree per 2,500
it,
square
okay.
feet, and then get the seeding and straw down in a certain number of days
Okay.
to be into compliance.
Okay.
If they don't, then, fines can start accruing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Is there any requirement for like a buffer around a development, like a buffer of trees around a development?
Yeah, at the
Yes.
time the subdivisions are created, that's when that happens.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't-
At the time subdivisions are created, when it's one big lot and it gets divided into the roads and the smaller lots, it becomes a subdivision. There's a perimeter around the outer edges
Give,
of
like,
that whole
privacy?
lot, that whole big piece of property. That's where the buffers come in.
Is there a minimum, like 5 feet, 25?
It depends. It goes by one zoning district next to the other. If it's single family, there's nothing required. If it's commercial, a single family, it might be a 10-foot wide C buffer. If it's next to Belterre or Route 1 or 95, it'd be a 25-foot G buffer. So it all depends. We have a table where you look at the proposed zoning and the existing adjacent one, and it tells you what you need. And then there's another chart that tells you exactly how many trees and how many shrubs have to go into that.
And that's what, like, one of the previous sections you guys had where, like, you could expand the buffer area and take
Right,
away, like,
right,
as
right.
needed to,
Right, we manipulate it around to make it more effective.
okay.
All right, is there any further discussion?
Well, the next steps, I'm just going to go over this last slide. Okay, you're asking an additional question, that's the first thing on that. So I think we've asked all the questions we
Let the
need?
board answer.
Okay.
No surprises from me right now.
Other potential amendments from the committee? I guess not. Schedule for moving forward. Okay, so the staff will present other landscape development chapters in the coming months. And the schedule has been provided to the committee. And workshop on follow-up amendments will be conducted. So you're gonna see us, I don't know if you're gonna see us again for this chapter, but other chapters will be coming in front of you. And you'll get to hear changes, make comments, and steer us in the right direction if you see a need. And you're included in this revamp of the Land Development Code because we believe you are knowledgeable, and we need your input, and we work together to get our community the best as we can be.
And most importantly, in Irene, we trust.
That's right.
Did want to clarify, currently, this committee is not scheduled to hear additional chapters.
Oh, no? Oh, that's what it says here.
So, that may change,
Mhm.
but you will still have business meetings. I
Perfect.
just wanted to clarify that.
And we have been
Thank you.
taking notes tonight, too, for your comments and questions. So when we go back at it, we'll keep those in mind and work them in, you know.
You also have access, should you think of something after this meeting, to go to Social Pinpoint, which I will email to each of you if you haven't retained it or I didn't send it to you. And you can make comments there, and they're incorporated into all the comments we receive. It's also for the public.
That's awesome.
So just so you know, I'll send that to you tomorrow. And I do believe we have a public person.
All right, no further discussion? All right, then we are opening up this, opening to the public.
We waited long enough, we get to speak now.
Can you state your name and your address?
Good evening, guys. My name's Danny Barnes. My address is 4408 Eli Whitney Drive. I live in Newburgh, Florida. I work for a company called Sinlon. Am I good to talk, or do you have more questions? Am I good?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
So my name's Danny Barnes. My company is Sinlon. We're based out of Jacksonville. We do some work in Palm Coast. We really don't do a whole lot due to the restrictions and permitting process and costs that go into that. I'd like to provide some technical clarity in and about modern turf systems performing, particularly in cities with drainage issues. Artificial turf is often classified as impervious. However, modern turf systems are designed to drain efficiently as a complete system and not behave like concrete asphalt. When properly installed, commercial systems, residential systems allow water to move through and, excuse me, I am very nervous. I don't know why. My apologies, let me start over. When properly installed, turf systems allow water to move through the surface into permeable base below. Many high-quality turf systems, including those that we install, achieve drainage rates exceeding 30 inches per hour, and that's the system beneath it. That's not the turf. Our most commonly installed turf allows up to 1,000 inches per hour. In real-world conditions, this often results in less runoff, less standing water than natural grass, especially in areas with compacted or poor soils. For comparison, natural grass in compacted urban soil typically absorbs about a ½ inch to 2 inches of water per hour, while modern turf systems can drain more than 30 inches per hour. Artificial turf also requires no irrigation, reducing damage on water supplies and eliminated overspray and runoff into streets, storm drains. It also removes the need for fertilizers, herbicides, and weed killers, chemicals that commonly wash into drain systems during rain events. I'd also like to briefly address the city's 5-foot perimeter setback requirements. While I understand the intent of the utility access, artificial turf is uniquely adaptable. It's very easy to pull it back, temporarily remove it, the system underneath it for any access, and then we can put it back without disrupting it. It's very simple. We do it all the time in Jacksonville. I guess I'll close with this. When evaluated based on drainage performance, water conservation, chemical reduction, life cycle impact, modern artificial turf systems often outperform equal or better than natural grass. Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
Yes. I respectfully request that the city reconsider classifying artificial turf as a pervious system, or allow us to give demonstrations. We've got plenty of testing that we can provide. We have gone through this with the city of Atlantic Beach, exactly the same scenario. They reversed it from 100% impervious to 100% pervious. And I guess I didn't ask a question besides, I guess if we could reconsider or look into options of artificial turf.
Well, we've had similar companies come and do demonstrations for us, and we invited our stormwater engineers to sit in on it. And they always have the same concern that it may be very pervious at the time of installation, but after months or years, when dust flies and dirt and sand go through storms and they start to fill in all the little pores that allow the water through, how over time it changes from pervious to impervious. And how do you address that?
So typically speaking, that is being compared to previous years of trial. A lot of companies believe that sand used to provide the best drainage underneath artificial turf, which is false. You don't want to use any type of sand. Everything that's beneath it is a compacted gravel, so it holds its place. We have plenty of testing. So Sinlawn's a national company. We're a distributor for this area. So they have years and years of testing that we can provide it breaks down everything. You can look through how long the turf lasts, how long the base systems last. There's different types of systems that you can use that we could provide the testing for.
Okay, well, if you have a package of information or anything, I'd be happy to take a look at it and consider it.
Yes, sir. So I did speak with Irene when I first got here. She gave me her contact information, and I could email all
Good,
all
that's
of
perfect,
that
yeah.
information.
And we can share with the board too and get input, or the committee, and get their input as well.
Are we allowed to ask questions? Okay. May we ask questions?
Oh, yes, please.
Rick, was one of the concerns that you asked is what happens if sediment gets into the grass and it fills up the pores? What is that one of the questions?
That was my question, yeah.
Yeah, so that has been addressed to the artificial community for a long time. So Sin Lawn, for instance, what we have done is we have double hole punched everything. The holes are much larger in between the bead rows of the turf, so it's not affecting the integrity of the backing of the turf, so the turf can still have the longevity, but it gives you all of the drainage holes. You've got twice as many. Really a big key in that is maintenance and upkeep. So as long as, what we require is our customers to blow off any debris once a week, once every 2 weeks at minimum. We offer maintenance packages. Usually will come out once a year. We will use a turf vacuum, clean everything out, and reapply infill sand. So there's absolutely nothing in the fibers besides the infill sand.
Okay. That's a
So
good
that
answer,
would
thanks.
be, essentially, it would be a specialized maintenance, just like we have to maintain our lawns. You would need someone to maintain, like just regular grass, someone would need to maintain. Am I understanding that?
Not necessarily. The biggest factor in that would be if there's, say they've got a lot of trees and there's debris building up, and then that sediment ends up breaking down and filling into the turf fibers, and then that's what would clog the holes. The holes are pretty large holes, so it's hard to block all of them, but say you neglected it for a year and a half, then you're probably going to have to clean everything out completely. But at the same point, there's nowhere, you can't permanently block these holes because it's at the same height as the backing. So you can temporarily block them, I guess, but there's so many that it really doesn't affect it.
Okay.
So you put, yeah, I have a question. So you put, you're saying you put gravel under it, and sand does not work?
Sand, no. So what the base system is that we install, so we would excavate 4 to 5 inches below grade. So we follow the same terrain that you currently have, so we're not changing grade. We're following the current grade unless if there's a grade issue for whatever reason. So we'll excavate 4 to 5 inches. We'll put in a border around everywhere the turf's going. We will put a non-woven fabric that allows for water drainage, and then we will put in a base of 57 stone, compact that, and then we put limestone screening on top of that. 2 very drainable products, but the limestone screening is very important to level the area off to give you a nice smooth surface.
Use limestone, you say?
Limestone screening.
Screening.
So it's a 3/8 inch minus limestone product. It allows
Isn't that
for drainage.
form like cement, limestone?
No. No, that would be, so there are turf companies out there who use crushed concrete. So crushed concrete's the absolute worst thing you can use. It doesn't allow for drainage. It allows for water runoff, which that causes issues with neighboring properties. That causes issues with mold, mildew, fungal growth on the product itself.
Limestone is notoriously porous, I believe, yeah.
It's very porous.
That's one of the reasons
That's
Florida's
Yes,
disintegrating, because
Yep,
we have a
that's-
limestone
that's-
bedrock and we have acid
Exactly.
rain, especially in Tampa.
Yeah, especially, it's susceptible to acid, especially.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I have a barn, and we put limestone down for the driveway, and it formed like a cement.
So there are different, that sounds like a road base, so there are many different styles of limestone.
Okay.
So just to clarify as well, so once we went through this process with the city of my apologies, the city of Atlantic Beach, they changed their permitting process. So what you have to do now is, if you're gonna install a turf and they approve of it, you have to get your turf and the turf itself approved. So there's only certain turfs that are approved for the city. And then once you get that, so obviously you go through the install process. Once you get all of your base system in, then you have a base inspection. So they come out and they double check that the base is the correct materials utilized before you put turf on. And we put the turf on, and then they have a final inspection to make sure the turf is final.
Yeah, I have clay soil, so it wouldn't work probably for me. Yeah, I don't think.
The part that you mentioned that was interesting of having a lawn is there's a lot of either pesticides or fertilizer or herbicide specifically. I know there's probably commercials utilizing some pretty heavy-duty stuff like atrazine and whatnot.
Correct.
Obviously the perk of the Astro is it's not necessary, right?
100% unnecessary. Same with water.
The part that I'm curious about is was there any concern from Atlantic Beach in regards to hazards or some other runoff or something with the material?
There was zero.
Okay.
There were zero concerns in terms of the permeability of the system. And they had the same concerns about the permeability, how long it would
Over
last.
time, yeah.
And we have provided them the information. And over the course of the last, I would say 2.5 years, this past year, they had finally approved of everything.
So aside from the regular scheduled maintenance, how long is the lifespan before it needs repair?
So that's a great question, and that also depends on the style of product. I can speak intelligently on our product. Our product's going to last 15 to 20 plus years. Our product has UV stabilization in it, so it's not going to get broken down from the sunlight. It's got anti-static, it's antimicrobial backing, antimicrobial infill, antimicrobial fibers. It's built into it. It's not a coating. Our product is actually made out of soybean and sugarcane, so it's very safe. And once our product is done, it gets shipped off. They actually turn it into our border. So Sin Lawn specifically is very environmentally friendly in terms of trying to be innovative on how to create a safe product. So our turf actually has 75% less petroleum usage than any other product. But then if you compare it to a product that you would buy from, say, Site One, that might be imported from China, and it's not going to last but 2 or 3 years without needing to be replaced.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's like a biofilter that's used in koi ponds, which promote healthy bacteria and percolation and water treatment. So it almost sounds like it's something like that.
I'm not too familiar with koi ponds or anything, so I can't compare the two.
So the biofilters, you have different size types of gravel, and what it does is when water is moving, it actually promotes good bacteria, so you get natural breakdown of those sorts of things. So you're not getting a lot of nutrient offload too when you have a flood or whatever. So
Correct.
and it sounds like about the same kind of repeat cycle to replace and maintain it too. So it does they do last 3 to 5 years usually, something like that. So
Yeah, and I could, so we have been sin lawn out of Jacksonville for the past 5 years, and every single install that we've installed, we've had zero issues of compacting to the point of no drainage. We have no record of puddling or running water coming from the turf. It's been, and I can give you an example in Palm Coast if I have the opportunity.
Okay, yeah, we're kind of getting to the end of our meeting here, so we wrap it up in a minute or so.
Okay, if I could wrap it up with this, I think
Yeah,
this would hit
okay.
home. There was a lady that we had did a project for. It's one of the 3 projects we've done here in Palm Coast. Her name is Debbie. She called me frantically crying. She didn't know what to do. Her house was flooding. It's flooded 30 to 40 times her approximate estimation from what the code of Palm Coast made her do from after getting her pool put in. The grade of her property, I don't understand what they were having her do, but all of her water was running to her house. So what we did was we just excavated the 600 square feet of turf. We put in our system, we put the turf in, and she has, this was a couple of years ago, she has had zero issues of flooding.
Okay.
And that would wrap it up for me.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
discussing that, and I think we're through with public comment,
Thank you.
and let's move on. Thanks for coming.
Seeing no one approach the podium, I'm closing this item to the public comment.
Motion to adjourn from the president?
Items on the agenda, committee discussion and staff issues. Are there any?
Yeah, are there any other items?
No, not at this time.
Any from the committee?
No.
Okay, then you can call for an adjournment.
We don't have to motion for the adjournment, do we?
You asked for it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
A motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.